What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. New media. Now, I told you guys new media was coming to shut shit down. Shut it down. End some careers. Hurt feelings. Now, I did a video on Alexander Povetkin, who failed his drug test. And to my dismay and shock, there were a lot of people who were justifying or attempting to justify that. So I then made a follow-up video, and I was just talking about just drug cheats and PEDs and doping in the sport in general. There was still some resistance. Now, here's the new media follow-up, because that's what we do here at New Media. We don't just say it, we show you, we tell you, we support it with facts. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of scumbags and parasites in the sport of boxing, and I'm talking about the fans. Also some of the camps and stuff like that, and just politics that goes on. But what I'm talking about right now is the fans. There's a lot of fans who, based on racism, tribalism, pride, foolish pride, people are so willing to foolishly cling to some belief or narrative that they already have, like a premeditated narrative, that they refuse to think with any type of sound logic. Instead, it's just all agenda and bullshit based on who they like. I don't even understand why some people hate certain fighters. Like Danny Garcia gets a lot of hate. Deontay Wilder, Floyd Mayweather. Like, okay, Al Heyman. Like, you really hate him that mad that you refuse to see right for wrong? Now, when it came to Povetkin, I told you something was fishy with the whole story. And yet and still, you still had some fans who were still trying to justify why he came up with a positive drug test. And they were saying, oh, this is the same thing the tennis player Maria Sharapova got busted for. It just got banned in January, man. You got to cut him some slack. He didn't know it was residual from September 2015. Again, listen to what people say, and then as an adult, as a man, as a grown woman, or hermaphrodite, whatever you guys are, you internalize that and determine what makes sense to you. And a lot of boxing fans simply don't do that. They are parasites, and they just, whatever host they can jump onto, if it supports the fighter they like, then that's what they're going to ride with, despite if it makes sense. So a lot of people were using what Povetkin's promoter said, the narrative that, oh, he took it before it was banned, and all of a sudden remnants or trace elements showed up from way back then. And to me, again, check my old videos, always look for consistency. That doesn't really make sense, because as I said in one of my videos about the drug testing, it just doesn't make sense that 6 to 7 months after you took it, it's still in your system. Like, that's a long time for elements. So it didn't sit well for me. Now, shout out to ESPN and Dan Rayfield. He sent out a tweet, and I'll read it. I quote, Povetkin was negative in Vada test on April 7th, April 8th, April 11th, positive on April 27th. Story that substance in system was from 2015 before ban is fantasy. Meaning he passed 3 drug tests conducted by Vada at the beginning of April, and then he failed the one at the end of the month on the 27th. Furthermore, Vada sent a letter out to both parties, the Team Povetkin, Team Wilder, and ESPN obtained a copy, link in the description, because that's what new media does. And Vada says, the information you have obtained is accurate. It also contradicts the public statements made by Mr. Ryabinski, who's Povetkin's promoter, who made the lie up that, oh, he had this in his system, he took it in September 2015 before the ban. It says it contradicts the public statements made by Mr. Ryabinski, attempting to excuse Povetkin's positive result. If there was a trace amount from 2015 in his system, it would have shown up in the other 3 tests in April that preceded the positive result. Meaning, he wouldn't have passed 3 tests if it was something from September of 2015. He would at least failed one of them. That's why they do the multiple random blood and urine testing. They also go on, this is the Vada president talking right now. And this is Dr. Margaret Goodman. And she goes on to say, this is a very serious PED because it wasn't on the World Anti-Doping Agency ban list until January 1st. This is the type of PED that results in extremely elevated stamina and a fighter performing like the Energizer Bunny. So I rest my case, man. Like, there's no way you guys are backed into a fucking corner. People were trying to dismay and sweep it on the rug and excuse it and justify and come up with all these excuses why he had the meldonium in his system. It doesn't make sense. You would not have passed 3 tests and then failed the one at the end of the month, which means he was trying to interject or cycle that in. Like, maybe he's like, oh, I passed these tests. Maybe Vada, they're not that good, so they're not detecting it. You know what I mean? He might have been doing it before. I don't know. And it just picked up on the last one. But for whatever reason, he got bold and tried to cycle it in some kind of way. And again, what's the excuse now? Oh, I'm supposed to, that's 2 strikes at least. So I'm supposed to believe a liar now too? You got to also look at people's character. So if you're willing to, you and your promoter, your team, they're willing to pump out this story like, hey, we took this in September, and then Vada retorts that and says no, because you would have failed at least one of the 3 that we conducted at the beginning of the month before you actually tested positive. So that shows you their character, some shady business. That's shady business on the Povetkin side, because they tried to have a scapegoat. Oh, we took it before the ban, just like Maria Sharapova. And like I said in my drug testing video about drug testing and doping and PEDs, cheating is ruining boxing, Maria Sharapova had irregular EKG results. She had a history of diabetes. She had that prescribed by a doctor and had been taking the meldonium for 10 years. Where's Povetkin's doctor's note? Why was he taking it? And again, I had another person leave a dumb comment, and this is crazy that people really try to justify a positive test. And I know for a fact, if it was a fighter that you hated, like let's say an Al Heyman fighter, right? You would not be coming up with all these excuses as to why Deontay Wilder failed a drug test, as to why Floyd Mayweather or Danny Garcia or any other fighter that the Charlo brothers, anybody that you hate would have failed a drug test. You would just be like, oh, ban him for life. You know what I mean? But all of a sudden, the glass is half full instead of half empty when it comes to a fighter you're trying to protect. New media, right? And it's just crazy that people really try to justify it. I had one guy leave a comment and he says, oh, it's not helping them punch harder. But you just heard the president of Vada just say it increases your stamina, just like what I said. And I don't even know. At the time, I didn't know much about the meldonium. Like, I'm not a chemist. I just know a little bit about fitness. And I read it was increasing your blood flow, which is obviously going to help with your stamina. And I quote, she says, it helps the fighter to perform like the Energizer Bunny. So how on earth is that fair? Again, Maria Sharapova, she's a tennis player, so she's hitting the ball. Deontay Wilder is getting hit in the face by someone who has the ability to perform for rounds, and is moving like the Energizer Bunny. If you guys remember the old commercials, it keeps going and going and going. So how is that fair? In the heavyweight division, a guy who's already strong and powerful, you're playing with the man's life, because he should be getting tired and wore down from Wilder's shots, for example, or just natural fatigue from being round 6. And this man has the ability to keep on going. That's pretty much kind of what EPO does. And again, the Russian pharmacies were the only ones that hadn't banned this. You couldn't get this in the States. It wasn't approved. Some of y'all really try to justify it, which is insane to me. Again, some of y'all got to stop with just that blind hate, because it leads you nowhere, because you desperately want to believe and stick up for the fighters you want to stick up for, and it always leads you up shit's creek with no paddle, because you start believing, oh, Povetkin's promoter said that it was from September, and then you start running with that narrative, and then something comes out. You know, Vada's not going to let their credibility go down the drain by just because of something a promoter says to try to save face for his cheating fighter. You know what I mean? So they come out with the paperwork like, no, he passed 3 drug tests before he failed, meaning he was on something. At some point, he had to start between this date and this date. That's the whole point and the beauty of random drug testing and them doing it multiple times, because it's harder. If you don't know when they're going to come, then you don't know when to cycle in a steroid. And again, I look at people's characters. I look at stuff like, you can use, sometimes in the dirty, corrupt world of like steroids, sometimes people use diuretics and stuff to mask the presence of a harder core drug. You know what I'm saying? Because I'd rather get busted for a diuretic, something to help you lose weight, like a hydroxy cut, than get busted for the real deal stuff that I was taking, which is an anabolic steroid, stanozolol or whatever. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how it works. So again, based on this behavior, it makes me not want to trust anything from Team Povetkin, right? You have to question it. You know, just like the Margarito loaded gloves, you have to question which ones of his wins are actually legit. Like, which one did he have those loaded gloves, the plaster in his gloves? You know what I mean? Because if it wasn't for Brother Nassim, you don't really know what would happen for the rest of Margarito's career. So, I mean, I just rest my case. New media. And it's crazy because a lot of you guys, again, you want to abandon all logic and just go with whatever. But I challenge you guys to do this, and then I'm going to be out. Look at new media and how the facts are presented, and look at the other side, like the people who are, let's say a guy is known for hating Al Heyman or Al Heyman fighters, right? A writer, a YouTuber, whatever, a commenter, and see how many of them are promptly making videos about Povetkin fucking up and him getting caught up in a lie. But let it be Nicholas Walters versus Vasyl Lomachenko. The deal doesn't go through because Walters gets lowballed. They'll be quick to make a video about that. They'll be quick to write an article about that. But when it comes to Povetkin failing, the guy that they're trying to protect, who's not on the coincidental list, guess what? They try to sweep it on the rug. Oh, maybe if I just don't make a video, if I don't write any articles, no one will ever know. Cheating is cheating. It is what it is. I rest my case. Checkmate. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.